Who was sending you Ferrari memes or condolences?
Well, I have a few friends that have been getting into F1 with Drive to Survive,
Oh.
and I mean, that's fine. It's cool. We all start somewhere, but they think they can now send me text messages, to tell me, oh
Oh
yeah,
wow.
sorry about Ferrari. I'm like, first of all, fuck
It
you.
kind of rhymes, by the way. Sorry about Ferrari.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry
that's a t-shirt
Ferrari.
in the making right there.
Yeah, dude.
uh, but then again, I was like, you haven't been here for the past 15 years of pain that we go through, so you think it's a one-off, but it's just we're getting used to it at this point.
Dude, well, we're back. It's the grandstand. Bahrain happened.
Yeah,
And
round one of 23 is done.
done. I didn't even think that Red Bull was like where was Red Bull even in the race, or did they just go to the fucking moon? I mean, they were that far ahead.
It seems like a 1-2 so far ahead of everyone else that even like the TV direction barely showed them the whole race.
I don't think I saw a Red Bull once during that race.
I mean, we did pit
All right,
stops
it
maybe, and
stops
then
in
the last lap.
the first and last lap, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
On the podium, and that was pretty much it. But yo, let's roll the intro. We've got some stuff to talk about.
Roll it.
A question for all of you except Romain Grosjean.
To whom it may concern, fuck you.
More ladies in the paddock? Yeah, more paddock access to some women. There's too many dudes.
I don't really have a lot to comment on that, except that he was being a pussy.
And no champagne on the podium either for the first race.
Yeah, always weird that like the weird like sparkling rose water, which like I don't like at all. You've had it, right?
No.
Yeah,
I see no use in having any of that.
It's like having non-alcoholic wine.
Yeah, no, and I've never tried that either. It's against my religion.
It's hideous. It's terrible. Don't ever drink it. Holy shit, dude! I mean, Red Bull just like slapped everyone in the face yesterday.
It's going to be a painful season, my friend.
I mean, all right.
I am.
It's not.
I am. It's going to hurt. This one's going to hurt. I'm just going to put it out there. Like, Max is going to shatter records this year.
That's actually what concerns me, is that Max is just going to run away. Like he hypothetically, like he could win every race this season. It's not going to happen, but
I mean, it's hard to do that, but I feel like it's not impossible this year.
That would be absurd. Just absurd.
Imagine winning 23 races in a row.
Jesus Christ. It might actually get boring. Like if you're the winner, like, just not having any competition,
Yeah. Well, man, that's going to be the meat of it this year. It seems like Red Bull is just so far ahead. Max only won by 11 seconds, but he was told to keep it, under control. And it just shows you how, I mean, he's like, he could have, I think he could have won by more than 40 seconds if he pushed.
You think so?
Yeah, even more. And I like how Checo was like, oh yeah, I'm getting closer. I was like, no, you're not. You're absolutely not getting closer. Yeah, you're getting closer because, Charles is not in front of you this year because he had a fucking engine problem again, but you're not closer to Max. That's for sure.
No, I mean, our only chance for a good race would have been, or not a good race, because it was actually a fun race. Like,
for sure.
I mean, in the midfield, everything happening outside of P1 and P2 was actually super exciting.
Well, Knowles, I think you now know what it feels like to have been someone who didn't support Merck circa like 2020, 2019, when it was just utter domination. Like that's how it felt for others.
Yeah, but it might even have been worse, honestly, in your defense, for those who weren't Merc fans, because even like the racing in the midfield wasn't that exciting.
Yeah, it's true. And this year, you're right. We have some incredible racing behind the Red Bulls. Like if you take out the Red Bulls 1-2, like we had a banger of a
Yeah,
race.
I mean, just lots of position changes. But the elephant in the room is
Yeah,
is Aston Martin. Like,
I want to hear it. I want to hear it, Knowles. I want to hear it. Do you believe it now?
I
Say
feel
it.
like you're like holding me in a headlock and like middle school. Like,
Say it, man.
say it, say it, you pussy. Um, I mean, listen, I'm starting to believe it. Let's put it that way. I think I want to see this be like, it has to be a consistent thing, and also let's see what happens when Lance's hand recovers from his masturbating accident.
Yeah, because we know the bike was just a cover, right?
Yeah,
The
it's
bike
totally
story.
covered. We know that he's not
the,
getting.
the only thing I mean, yeah, I can understand. He broke bones in both hands, but someone's got to explain how he broke a toe in all this.
He broke a toe as well. Oh,
Yeah,
weird.
dude. Honestly, I mean, Alonso was praising him, and part of me was saying, okay, good PR for the team, but we gotta give huge, like big ups to Lance because broken bones in two hands and a broken toe, and still fought back to P6 with some good moves throughout the race. Like am I starting to believe in Stroll? Never thought I'd say that, but he's better than what I qualified him as last year as a solid driver. He's Stroll. Stroll can hang, I think.
He's not. I mean, listen, dude, the kid can drive. Like, it's not. I think it's. I don't think there's any questions about that. And yeah, I think we got to give him credit to like get back in the car after the accident because, yeah, he was driving with like basically a broken bones in his hands.
Yeah, he had surgery 12 days before the race, and he missed out on 250 laps of testing. This is what I really appreciate as a driver. He gets in the car, and of course, he's not on Alonso's pace right away, but he's not far behind.
No, he's not. He's
Uh,
not.
so that just shows you also how good that Aston Martin car. And I remember saying last year, and I got the Knowles response. I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it. But I was like, Aston Martin's putting some big moves, and I don't think they're done yet, man. It's they look strong package all weekend. We even thought Alonso might have had a shot at pole, and he didn't. He actually qualified lower than we thought. But what a fight back to get a podium on his debut for Aston Martin. Like that's the dream start.
Dude, what's funny is he got interviewed. I think it was like between FP3 and quali, and was like, I'm not really thinking about pole position, which like I think is. He definitely was thinking about, well, what if? Like you have to think of that, right?
I think as a team where you stand, and like they know according to their GPS data and stuff, like when teams are putting their engines down because they can see that they're not fast on the straights, for example. So I think everyone knew that Red Bull was far ahead during practice. What I'm surprised though is that he qualified behind the Ferraris. Like I thought he was going to be P3 for sure, at least. So I can understand not, like I can understand him saying, I'm not going for pole because obviously Red Bull is in a league of its own, but pretty much he's the best of the field right now if you take him out.
He's driving at an impeccable level, and I think the big question is, we've discussed like his career moves and how he's like, not made the best strategic moves from team to team.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
And this was another one of those scenarios where, he's switching teams and, fucking with pretty much fucking up the pecking order. Let's put it that way. He is. I mean, let's be real. But it does feel like now he may have made the right move, man. Because let's think, like, Alpine did not look great yesterday. Ocon, I don't know if you know this. Ocon got a 5-second penalty for not serving his 10-second penalty properly.
Okay, Ocon, yeah, we need to recap Ocon's race because first of all, he gets a 5-second penalty for not being in the correct grid spot, right? Which is a few centimeters off where he's supposed to be. Harsh. Then he comes in to serve his penalty. Mechanics start working on the car 4/10 before they're allowed to. You know, this is a very precise sport. Boom, another penalty. He comes back in to serve that penalty, and he gets caught for speeding. Another penalty. Like, motherfucker couldn't catch a break yesterday. And honestly, that was probably the worst start to the season I've ever seen of any driver, to be honest. Like, that was terrible. And part of it was him. Part of it was the team. Just sloppy.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, and then Gasly's race, I mean, just from where he qualified. I mean, yeah. I mean, I know it's only the first race of the season, but, you know, between Lance coming back, and I will say this, Motorsport had this, motorsport.com had this like scroll through on Instagram about 10 things we learned from Bahrain. And I think one of them was Lance Stroll's desire can't be questioned anymore. I mean, the dude, there's that too. And then, then Fernando getting a podium in the first race. I mean, it's really shaking up the midfield. And like, it could be argued that Aston Martin by, mid-season is no longer considered part of the midfield.
Yeah. I mean, you rightfully said we got to wait a few races, and I think that's correct because obviously testing happened on the same track as the first race of the season. So who knows? But it doesn't look like a one-off to me. Like, I think if you compare it to the manufacturer team, Mercedes, so they have the same engine and gearbox. Mercedes has a lot of points of comparison there, and it's just clear that Aston Martin's just doing a better job aerodynamically, mechanically, everywhere. When you're getting beat by a customer team, that's rough, man. And it's not a fluke. It can't be a fluke for me. Will it fluctuate throughout the season? Yeah, for sure. But it can't be a one-off for me.
No. And I don't think it is. But I mean, funny enough, I mean, talking about getting beat by a customer team. I mean, Mercedes. I mean, are they a midfield team now? Like, genuine.
Well, I got a question for you as a Merc fan.
Yeah.
Last year was tough, right?
Yeah, last year sucked.
Last year sucked, but there were signs. Like, I don't know, they were doing pretty. We had some exciting races. We had Zandvoort. Obviously, we had Austin, where Hamilton was fighting with Max, and then we had obviously Brazil 1-2. And you thought, like, okay, you'll learn from your mistakes and come back, and apply whatever you learned, and you'll be able to compete, right? That's what Toto was saying. That's what Lewis is saying. But it seems like they've gone back, man. Even Lewis said that they're now the fourth fastest team. They've gotten, Aston Martin's gone ahead of them, and they're further away than they were last year in Bahrain.
Yeah, I mean, both Lewis and George did not have great things to say in the race. I mean, even George said, or after the race, in their post-race interviews, and even George said that, going back to what we were talking about, like, could Red Bull hypothetically win every race? George actually said they could win every race, between both Max and Checo. So, and then he said they've got the championship in the bag. Like, nobody else is gonna challenge them after race one.
So Merck was supposed to bring a big quote unquote update in Imola, which was only worth 0.3.
Mm-hmm.
And now Toto's saying we gotta bin that. I mean, you just gotta go for a new concept. But here's my question to you: in the cost cap world, knowing how much money you've thrown at this car and developed it, and it's not working, I feel like Merck is in a cycle of decline now. Like it's going to be hard to get back because you've wasted so much time last year. You're going to waste a lot of time this year. It's looking like you're gonna. It's looking like they're slipping, man, and it's looking like Red Bull's entering a period of like utter domination.
Yeah, it's wild, and like even
I don't know, man.
that battle between Lewis um and Fernando,
Fernando.
like just how like old school that felt, but like that Aston Martin looks so much better than the Mercedes right now.
Oh, planted. Yeah, it's got so much grip. By the way, those are probably my favorite battles of the race. Fernando versus George, Fernando versus Lewis. Fernando was just like all around driver of the day for sure,
You knew that he
100%.
was grinning too, like when he overtook Lewis, because we know that there's no love lost between those two.
Yeah, I love how he's like, yeah, like his comments were so fake, but so Fernando. Like you could tell there was like a Machiavellic smile behind that.
100%, dude. But I think kind of looking at the top of the grid, Ferrari didn't have a terrible weekend, but didn't have a stellar weekend.
Well, it it kind of looked like a repeat of the disasters that happened last year with Leclerc comfortably in P2, his engine failing, and the engine was the weak point last year. So honestly, that didn't feel good. But also with like the pace of the Red Bulls in the front, like I don't think that it doesn't hurt as much as last year because last year Ferrari had a faster car. This year they don't, right? So, but you're right. They were going pretty strong. They were going for like maybe a P2 and a P4 or maybe P5 because Alonso was kind of tearing up the field there. But Leclerc was definitely going to be on the podium.
I mean, I was gutted for Charles. I really was. I mean, that's just and his face afterwards when he got out of the car said it all. He was like, "Here we go, fucking again."
Yeah, because that he was going for damage limitation. He knew he was going to lose the race, but like, okay, don't lose too many points. Right. And now you've got a 25-0, and the Italian press was like kind of dejected as well. Like, not alarmist yet, and I don't want to be either, but they also said, "Oh, remember last year when we were ahead after 3 races by 46 points and we still lost?" So nothing's over, but yeah, I don't see Red Bull making the mistakes Ferrari made last year, though. That's the big issue there.
I mean, we'll see, man. I mean, it's again, race 1. Carlos finished P4. So they a little bit of damage limitation, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, that P2 position behind Red Bull, I mean, it's up for grabs right now. I mean, it's not Ferrari is not guaranteed that spot right now.
Oh no, yeah, especially with the form Aston has, and how I hate to go back to Aston, but like that was kind of the highlight of the weekend for me. But how I know that they have a great car is that Alonso is already talking about him having, like when he was asked like, oh yeah, the team has going to have a lot more wind tunnel runs, and he said, yeah, but next year we'll have less. So he already knows that the car is going to develop in a great way this year, and that next year is going to be like, this guy thinks of everything, and he's man.
Well, I will say something about him. When he's not one to shy away from stating or letting everybody know his opinion on something. So when he says something, that he means it. And that it's regardless of whether you agree with it or you don't, it's generally like going to be, there's probably some truth behind it. As much as it pains me to say that. No, I'm serious. I mean, he just kind of has always operated that way. Very like Juan Pablo-esque in some ways.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think it
calls it like it is.
And then looking at the rest of the field, I mean, I think a big thing we got to talk about, like Alpine was going, trying to go best of the rest, and then McLaren, dude. I mean, what in the fuck is going on there right now?
So why don't you tell us what you think of Oscar Piastri's debut? Because I know you really love him as a driver.
I was so happy that he didn't finish the race.
You've got something against him.
I don't know. Dude, I don't know why. I guess it's just like, you know, Danny Rick is out of the sport because, ultimately he wasn't putting in results, and that's what it comes down to. I didn't like the way that I don't like the way that he went about the whole thing with Alpine. I thought it was unprofessional, especially when like it just showed no loyalty, um, to a team that basically got him through the junior categories. I mean, they invested well over like $4 million in his career. And I know you got to make choices that better suit you, but I mean, right now Danny Rick's having the last laugh because that McLaren doesn't look good.
No, it didn't look good with Piastri. He struggled a lot and he had some issues in the pits. But when Lando was behind, was it Lewis and Alonso when they were fighting? He was or Sainz, he was keeping up with them. So I don't know. He said it's not all bad, which I can see there's signs of positivity there. But it's already known that McLaren is going to come with like its actual 2023 car in the next few races, and they're just biding their time. So I'm not expecting much from McLaren until they come with that big upgrade. Then we can judge them. For now, for me, they're going to be lagging in the back, and who knows? They might actually get a few results because that midfield is tight. Like I don't even know if it's a midfield anymore. I think it's going to be it's going to be track specific, and we're going to have some teams that are going to edge out other teams, but there's not going to be like in past years, like the Williams in the back and the Haas in the back. It seems like everything is super close. Like in Q1, we had the whole grid separated by 1.1 seconds. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That's tight.
Yeah, it's so tight. I mean, yeah. I mean, I was blown away by that. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Like, let's be real. Like, I mean, AlphaTauri didn't have a great day. De Vries did not have a great debut, but Williams. I mean, Albon finished in the points.
I think Williams is to steal our boy Remy's quote from him, the unofficial winners of this race, because they got P10 and P12, and Sargent for his debut, you got to give it to him. For me, that was probably the strongest showing out of all the rookies there.
Oh, easily. I mean, Piastri didn't finish. De Vries, where did De Vries finish?
De Vries was pretty far back. I think De Vries finished P14. Okay.
So, I mean, not terrible, not great. He's out in Q1. But even the Haas, I mean, Hulk going into Q3, first time out, pretty impressive. So it just goes to show this year is going to. I mean, here's a question to you: are the aero rules, like the aero changes, doing their job?
I think they are, and it's mostly the sliding scale of the wind tunnel runs, right, that we're going to see. So I was a little shocked that Haas showed really good one lap pace, but then in the race they went back, like K-Mag P13, Hulk P15. How much of that is due to like Hulk being rusty, but I think he should be fit after testing. But yeah, there's definitely like Williams. If you look at Williams, the reason they're able to catch up is because they're allowed to run more wind tunnel, to do more wind tunnel runs, right? So we're going to see kind of ebb and flowing, right? And I'm hoping, right, this is when I'm trying to be somewhat optimistic that Max isn't going to destroy everyone. I'm hoping that their wind tunnel limitations plus the penalties they got for not abiding by the cost cap last year will hurt them. I was trying to say that diplomatically. Will hurt them maybe in the second part of the season, while the others are going to have more runs, and like we'll see them, we'll see that performance hopefully dipping on their side, or the others not dipping, but the others will catch up and develop at a higher rate. So if that happens, then it's going to be interesting, because that means that every year it's almost like getting the first round pick in a draft, and you get like a really good player in the NBA. It'd be like, oh, well, we finished last, but we're going to be able to develop way more. So it's going to, and hopefully that'll maintain the performance and like the gap to like the small margins we have here. But, I think we'll know in a few years. I think it's too early to tell, but
yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, interestingly enough, just reading a quote from Toto, and he said this was one of the worst race weekends that he could remember Mercedes having, feels,
I saw
which
that.
I feel like is
Yeah.
not necessarily like. I don't know if it could be worse than what happened last year, the porpoising, like that, like when Lewis literally physically was, injured because the car was porpoising so much. So, I mean,
Yeah. Also, I remember Lewis and like when I went to Imola, couldn't pass Tsunoda for like P10 or
oh yeah, that
P11.
was
So
bad. I remember that. That was
how is that? How is this worse than? I mean, Lewis finished what P4,
no, he finished
P5,
five.
P5. Yeah, and he had the pace in the end to kind of bring it to science, and could have been a P4, but yeah. But what he does say, Toto, and like you can tell there's that champion mentality behind it. Is that we don't really care if we're doing okay relative to P2 and P3. Like our benchmark is Red Bull, and we've missed our mark. And for that, yeah, they're far, far behind. So, in terms of the gap to the front, that's probably what hurts the most for Toto.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I have to say I'm excited by something, and that is I am leading. I think this might be the first. It's the first time in a long time that I'm leading the Grandstand Championship with 24 points to your 19 points. You got, yeah, man. It feels good. It feels good to be on top. We'll see how long it lasts.
I'll be, I'll admit when you've done a better job, and
Thanks.
you
Yeah,
called it.
Max on pole, signs Max P1, and then signs P4. You got Max P1 and Max P4. Or I'm sorry, Carlos signs P4 as well.
Yeah, you basically called it. You got the extra 5 points on the pole
Yeah.
position. So well done. There was no Gromo moment, or although here's a question to you: if one would have called Ocon for Gromo, would that have been a Gromo for you?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so not
It's
not
more on
much.
his team, not him personally.
Yeah, he did speed in the pit lane coming into serve penalty. Yeah, it's not
Yeah, it's
embarrassing
like
enough, I guess.
it's not. It's definitely not. It's not Grosjean-esque. Let's put it that way. Who also was
Yeah.
racing this weekend and got crashed
Who got
into by Scott McLaughlin, the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. So
there could have
radio.
Yeah. there could have been a Gromo at the start when Alonso was fighting with the Mercs and Stroll was diving in the inside, and both Aston Martins collided when Alonso took a really wide turn into turn 4 and Stroll was going on the inside, and they bumped right there, and that could have ended terribly. That would have been such a different story for the weekend if they took each other out. So it's funny how little things can have a huge impact on the race. Obviously not Stroll's fault, but if they had collided, and if they had both spun out, could have given a Gromo to Aston Martin there.
Yeah,
just saying.
But
they didn't, and they performed. So, and no one called it here. None of us called Stroll. So, not for this time. But it is a long season, and I'm hoping for a closer battle in our stand championship than at probably in the actual championship.
Yeah, which I think that midfield's going to shake things up, man. I mean, what I don't want to see happen is that every weekend we're just calling it, Max on pole, Max P1, and Checo P2, or vice versa, the other way around. But no, we've had so much Formula One over the last few weeks, and now we've got a break, and I honest to God, I'm kind of like, cool. All right, we can chill out for a minute, take a breather.
Yeah,
just the drivers. I mean, if I were the teams and the drivers, like, I'd be so happy right now that I've got at least like a week till another. We've got to start getting ready for another race.
I feel like it depends who you are right now. If you're looking at Merck, they're gonna be, it's like Red Bull's happy no matter what happens right now, I feel, but some teams probably want to get racing as fast as possible.
I would imagine Aston Martin wants to get back on track pretty quickly.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, we have a week off, and we'll definitely be getting into more of these storylines, and on our next episode for sure. But did we give Gasly a good shout out? Because I feel like he deserves a little round of applause as well, because P20 to P9 on his debut is quite a feat. Like his weekend didn't start too well with that time getting deleted in Q1. It looked like he was going to have a terrible weekend, and pulled it together and actually scored points. So I wanted to just bring that up, and also the Bottas mullet stash combo points as well for him. So I'm actually really excited about the midfield because that's where the action is this year.
Yeah, same. I think that's where everything happened in the race yesterday. So, but where are we going next?
Next is going to be Saudi Arabia.
That's actually a fun track. It's a fast track, fun. The politics of it aside, the race last year is actually pretty fun from what I remember.
Yeah, I like this track. I like this. Just speaking of the track, and I'm excited. It's a fast track. It's a street track, and yeah, I guess we can get into it a bit next week when we're doing our preview on Saudi. But I'm already wondering what the hell I'm going to do with myself for the next 2 weeks.
I don't know, dude. Get a life. How about that?
I've been told that a few times.
Be sure to follow us at the Grandstand F1. We post some pretty fun content. Also engage with some others. Steiner memes. The guys who do Steiner memes are pretty funny. I love that Instagram account. But,
oh, great.
At the Grandstand F1, give us a follow, and we will be back next week with our Saudi GP predictions.